Hello, I'm Alexthehunted. I hope you're ready for some insanity today. I really have nothing else to say because, oh boy, today we're looking at the infamous Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Oh, a movie that can really solve people's drug addictions because, it's just so insane. You feel like you're already on drugs. So let's buckle up and dive into the insanity. So our movie begins with lovely pollution. If you don't know already what this movie is about, it's an environmental movie. And a pretty weird and preachy one at that. Think of the inconvenient truth mixed with Godzilla and a ton of drugs. We get our first glimpse of Hedorah rising out of the ocean, followed by the title card, and then a James Bond style intro. So this song's the movie's main theme, and it's called Give Back the Sun, or if you're talking about the English dub, it's called Save the Earth. And it is 70s in every way you would expect. It starts out as some nice little ballad and then goes into an insane guitar riff. And I'm not much of a movie expert, but the fact that this song plays so many times throughout the movie, it just makes it annoying and kind of sucky. So our movie actually begins with oh god, it's a kid that loves Godzilla. Oh, did they mix it up with a Gamera script again? Anyway, the father of this kid is a marine biologist who looks over a strange fish some hobo-looking fishermen gave him, and they have no idea what it is. We then get a news report as two shipping containers are destroyed by some giant blob thing, and this is where we get our first look at Hedorah. And while this movie is very weird, this movie actually scared me as a child, and looking back I can sort of see why, because look at this first picture of Hedorah. Look at those eyes. That black unrecognisable body with those demon red eyes staring right at you. I was very, very young when I first saw this movie, so it scared the crap out of me. Looking back at it now, I must have really forgot everything else in this movie. That being said, Hedorah's design is one of the few positive things I will say about this movie. Father goes into the water and we get some beautiful underwater shots of the horribly polluted water of Japan, with junk everywhere and a dead swan, which I bet wasn't a prop, they just found it while they were filming there. Anyway, the kid looks out into the beautiful polluted sea, only for the smog monster to show up and lunge at the kid. But the kid cuts a bitch and Hedorah retreats, only to run into his dad. Huh, well he's dead. I didn't know this was a Disney movie. Wait, no, he survives somehow. We actually never show how he somehow got out of there. The last we saw of him was Hedorah looking to attack him, and the next time we see him, he's just in the bed looking like Two-Face. We then get more news reports about the monster, and the kid calls it Hedorah. Then we go into a weird animation sequence. Why honestly it's there, I've honestly no idea. It just is basically there to show what we already know, that Hedorah has been attacking ships, but as soon as it appears, it's gone, and then we get our first appearance of Godzilla. Ah yes, the classic Godzilla theme. Only it's played by a guy who's never heard the theme before, and the sheet music must have been dropped in a puddle. That is one thing you will really much notice about this movie, is just how odd the soundtrack is when you get scenes like this. Anyway, Godzilla is here to fight the pollution by setting it on fire, because of course the best way to deal with pollution is to set things on fire. Also, let's not forget that Godzilla is radioactive. Anyway, Godzilla blows up a load of pollution, or maybe he doesn't, because then the kid appears in the corner and he's been dreaming about Godzilla blowing up the pollution. Only later we see that Godzilla was blowing up pollution. So is the kid psychic? I don't know. Anyway, Dr. Two-Face does some experimenting and finds that the Hedorah tadpole can only survive in polluted water. And if he puts two of the tadpoles into the same water, they combine to make a bigger one. But before we get more science, Hedorah makes landfall in the Japanese port, and we cut to a nightclub. A very 1970s nightclub, where everyone is dancing, someone is dressed like a fish, and this guy is off his face. All of a sudden he starts to see everyone wearing fish heads. What does this have to do with the movie? I have absolutely no idea. This never happens again, and we don't even get really an explanation of what caused it to begin with. He just starts seeing everyone wearing fish heads. But then again, he is in a 1970s nightclub, so he probably is off his face on drugs. Only I'm just questioning what the bloody hell the director was thinking when he made this scene. I come to think of that a lot during the rest of this movie. Anyway, Hedorah hits land and starts sucking up on a pollution bong, which then causes some more psychedelic images. But before we can enjoy any of that, Godzilla appears and causes more fire, and challenges Hedorah to the first fight of the movie. Slow movement with two dark coloured characters on a dark set, filmed at night. So it's boring and hard to see. And when I say boring, I mean boring, because hardly anything happens. Hedorah bounces on Godzilla and they fall to the ground, and Godzilla just grabs and spins Hedorah around. Then part of Hedorah flies off and crashes into a room of gamblers, drowning them in shit. We cut back to the club where Hedorah comes out to boogie down on the dance floor, but then leaves for absolutely no reason. He just comes down the stairs and then goes back up it. So... oh my god, how the hell could you do that to a cat? How the hell can you make a Save the Environment movie and do that to a cat? Animals were definitely harmed in the making of this movie. There's some damn hypocrisy in this. So the two fight, well, they don't really fight, it just sort of stops and Hedorah tries to flee, but the two monsters start to talk to each other or something. They do some hand gestures and I don't know what it means at all. And it goes on for so long.
Godzilla. Stay right here.
So after nearly 5 minutes of the monsters just standing around, Hedorah makes a retreat and Godzilla chases after him. We then get more weird animation, as honestly I don't know what, but Hedorah comes and eats a machine and then flies away, and then they draw Hedorah to have boobs. I have no idea why. We then get news reports that the two monsters were fighting off screen, which would have been great to see, but no, we've got to get Scientist Man and his family in a nice trip to see Hedorah's leavings. And the kid going and acting like Godzilla. Oh, how amazing. After testing the samples, he finds out that Hedorah is very much like Shin Godzilla, made up of millions and millions of cells combined together to create a giant form. But to survive it needs more and more pollution. The more pollution, the bigger and more powerful it gets, even suggesting that it could become bigger and stronger than Godzilla. But then we undermine the entire message of this movie, because Hedorah wasn't a creation by humans and their wayward ways of pollution. No, because they then say that Hedorah comes from space. So in other words, Hedorah came to Earth and was just going to become massive anyway. It had nothing to do with humans and pollution. It just found the right planet to feed on. That really kind of softens the blow of the whole message of the movie. Instead of saying it could be humanity's fault that Hedorah's around, no, we just came from space. Really softens the message. If we don't stop our pollution right now, then we could create a giant unkillable monster that could destroy the entire... Oh wait, it came from space? Oh well, never mind then. Anyway, Godzilla Kid goes to a theme park where he's joined by the two from the club from earlier, where the kid sees a smudge on the camera lens. Oh wait, no, that's the kid supposed to be spotting Godzilla. Anyway, after the roller coaster stops, we get some great guardianship and parenting as the two adults left in charge of the kid let him run off into the busy city. And it's not like the kid just simply slips away from them, no, they literally watch him running off smiling.
Ken, come here!
Now don't worry, he'll be alright.
Anyway, the kid goes to the phone to talk to his dad, only an explosion happens and a new form of Hedorah appears, a flying form. And as it flies over people, its toxic gas emitted dissolves human bodies pretty much instantly, making them look like real skeletons. And I'm not gonna lie, this scene scared the crap out of me as a kid. It's just so dark compared to the rest of the movie. It was just weird until this point where we literally see human bodies dissolve into bones. And also the bones look very, very real, like they actually are human skeletons. It's just, compared to everything else in this movie, it's just so dark and foreboding. Also, there's a weird editing moment where Hedorah flies through a building construction and it's completely silent. You can clearly see there's flashes from the base of the construction, meaning there was supposed to be some sound effects. So, what, did they just forget about it or something? Anyway, Hedorah causes more destruction until Godzilla appears and we get our second fight of the movie. Great fight. So anyway, after some more lessons about how nuclear reactors work, the hippie guy from earlier, who was supposed to be looking after the kid, decides that they should have a huge protest march against Hedorah, which is then followed by a news report about Hedorah, which is then followed by probably the most bizarre scene ever put into a Godzilla movie. Okay, what the hell is it with this director and putting really innocent and cute things in really horrible situations? Also, who are these babies' parents that just let this director do this? You know, just basically mentally scar their young baby right from the get-go. Great parenting. So anyway, scientist Two-Face may have come up with a plan to kill Hedorah by making two giant electrodes which he will try to kill Hedorah by drying out all the liquid in it, because basically Hedorah is made out of pollution, so the best way to kill it would just be to dry it out. So he rings up the military and then we go back to the hippies as their giant march is actually in Mount Fuji and hardly anyone showed up because, you know, they're all scared of Hedorah coming out and killing them. Also, this scene is shot in black and white for some reason until hippie guy strums his guitar and invents colour. Again, what does this have to do with the whole message of the movie? I have no fucking clue, but it's just in this movie. Why? What's going on? Why is it looking like it's turning into a satanic cult? Meaning I'm starting to get really worried about this kid? All these questions and more will not be explained because Hedorah decides to show up. But not before the director decides he wants to cause how bad pollution is some more by killing a load of fish. What a dick. Back with the satanic cult, this happens. What is even the point of that? Okay, what is the next scene? What? So yes, Godzilla shows up with more crap theme music and we get ready for the final fight with Hedorah in his final form. So the grand showdown begins, and it's going to be an epic fight. Any minute now. So eventually Hedorah starts to throw shit at Godzilla, and Godzilla just face palms. Hedorah turns into his flying form and knocks Godzilla over with his freaking laser beams, and flies off elsewhere, to have a stare off with the kid. By the way, I do want to mention that this final battle of the movie is 30 minutes long, and it's mostly this. Just nothing but Hedorah standing around. Seriously, about 5 minutes of this final battle is the two monsters actually fighting. So the hippies make war, not peace, by throwing fire at Hedorah, and he just covers them in smog. And well, one of the main characters was in this scene, and we don't really see them all again, so I guess they all died during this, which again, you know, this movie was supposed to be for kids, so nothing like a good kids movie to show mass bodies. So Hedorah just sort of forgets Godzilla's around and the two get back to fighting. Godzilla distracting Hedorah with a rock, and then he punches out one of Hedorah's eyes. The two fight, and what's odd is this is the only part of the fight in the whole movie where we just get these weird light flashes that keep happening throughout the whole scene. It never happens again, and I don't know what it's for. Is it supposed to be lightning or something? Oh, the powerful Hedorah, truly one of Godzilla's most fearsome enemies. So Hedorah fires his beam not at Godzilla, but at the ground, making fire and smoke, which causes Godzilla to, honestly, just fall to the ground. I don't get it. So what, Godzilla can't survive fire now? I don't get it. Then Hedorah turns into his flying form and carries Godzilla off, dropping him into a pit. And then when he lands and turns back into his normal form, he, well, takes a big dump on Godzilla. And well, knowing the internet, I bet someone put this scene on repeat for a long time. Anyway, Dr. Two-Face meets up with the military who have made the giant electrodes in less than a day somehow. Okay, fine. Anyway, everything's finished and they're ready to blast Hedorah with 300 million volts. However, Godzilla and Hedorah lovingly embrace and roll down the mountain, coincidentally right where the electrical towers that will be supplying the electrodes, destroying them, so now the electrodes has no power, meaning that the military have to rush and fix to repair it. Meanwhile, Hedorah shoots the ground again, and they repeat the shot of Godzilla falling over, so then Hedorah just decides to fly towards the electrodes. Why? I have no clue other than the plot said he needed to be there. But the electrodes aren't ready yet, so they have to stall Hedorah, and also they have to pad out the runtime of the movie. And I'm not kidding, this scene goes on for so long. Nothing happens. Helicopters just fly over and drop, honestly I don't know what, on Hedorah, but Hedorah just shoots them down. So mission successful, I guess. They then just flash lights at Hedorah to keep his attention, but he just stands there doing nothing. This is what 5 minutes of the movie is. Just Hedorah standing there. Do something!
Do something! Do something! Do something!
And after all of this, it doesn't bloody matter all the waiting to get the electrodes finished, because Godzilla just powers the electrodes anyway with his atomic breath, which of course can power electricity, because Godzilla's atomic breath is a power source. How can Godzilla's beam power electrodes? Godzilla's atomic breath is basically a concentrated explosion, so how does this work? So yes, through bullshit, the electrodes shock Hedorah, and the audience get an epileptic fit because, well, just look at the scene. Actually, no, if you're epileptic, don't look at this scene. Please look away. And then we get even more padding as Godzilla walks over to the dying Hedorah and punches into the body, pulling out 2 spheres, which I think are supposed to be Hedorah's eyes, but we later see that Hedorah has eyes, so are they supposed to be eggs? I don't know. That's the best theory out there, is that they're supposed to be Hedorah eggs. I don't know. But Godzilla hits them with more electrodes, and considering that he's standing right in the path of the electrodes, which are firing 300 million volts at him, and electricity is Godzilla's known weakness, why aren't they hurting him? Oh, whatever. But the orbs turn into dust, meaning something, I don't know. But Hedorah tries to make his escape and fly away. And it looks like Hedorah's going to escape until the scene happens. You ever get the feeling that something really bad is about to happen? Oh my god, this scene is so stupid. Reality is tearing itself apart. What's going to happen to us? Ooh. Okay, nothing happened. Good. So yes, Godzilla can fly. He never does this again in any other movie. But my god, is this scene just so legendarily stupid. There is no setup, no building, no foreshadowing to any of this. He just does it. And also the stupid music that follows it just makes it even more amazing. There's a reason why this scene lives in infamy. So Godzilla begins beating up Hedorah and then flies him back to the electrode, where we get another scene of Godzilla powering the electrode with his atomic breath, destroying Hedorah, because we already saw that, and we got to make that hour and 20-minute mark somehow, so let's do it 3 more times. Godzilla then just tears Hedorah apart into basically just bits, and with one final blast of the electrode, Hedorah is defeated, Godzilla defeating pollution once and for all. Well, actually no, because as Godzilla walks off, we get shots of more pollution, symbolising that the battle has been won, but the war is far from over. So I guess we got to set more fires or something, I don't know. As what's left of the hippies and the kid wave Godzilla goodbye, our movie ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah, fuck no, this movie's not getting a sequel. In fact, the director of this movie, when he showed it to Toho, they were so pissed off with him. Even though he already started writing the sequel, they were just so pissed off with this movie. They, and I quote, claimed that he ruined Godzilla forever, which is kind of funny when you think about the movie that preceded this one. But yeah, apparently they said that he had ruined Godzilla forever, and they banned him from ever making another Godzilla movie again. And can you blame them? Because this movie sucks, and I just don't get it. I don't get why this movie gets such love from certain parts of the fandom. It's so just not Godzilla. It's so bizarre and weird. It just doesn't work. I mean, some people say it's an art house film, but usually art house films are supposed to have some meaning to some of the symbolism. This movie just comes off as like they just wanted to film random shit. It's just so weird and bizarre, and it just sucks. When it's not being weird, the movie just sucks. You've got a standard boring scientist character, standard boring kid character, standard boring hippie supporting characters that don't do anything. And the whole final act of the movie goes on for so long. The only recommendation I can give is basically any scene with Godzilla and Hedorah is alright, apart from the final fight, because it goes on for so bloody long. But this movie is a great movie to riff, and that's really all I can say. I can't recommend it. I really can't. It sucks. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's head back to the wheel, and I will see you guys next time when I review Rebirth of Mothra. I'll see you guys then.